Reggae music is known for peace, love, and unity. But that's only half the story. The truth is, the genre is filled with rebels, outlaws, and visionaries who sparked massive firestorms of controversy. You'll be stunned to learn how one artist's lyrics led to international boycotts, and another's personal life ended in a mystery that is still unsolved today. 1. Vybz Kartel. No artist in the last 20 years has dominated and divided the world of reggae and dancehall like Vybz Kartel. His case deserves the #1 spot because his controversy operates on every possible level, musically, culturally, and legally. He is not just a controversial artist, he is a cultural phenomenon whose story is almost too wild to believe. Musically, he is a certified genius. His lyrical ability is second to none, and he has produced an endless stream of hits that have defined the sound of modern dancehall, even while being incarcerated. But his lyrics have often been a source of major debate, with content so graphic and extreme that it has been banned from the airwaves. Culturally, he became a lightning rod with his skin bleaching. He didn't just lighten his skin, he promoted it as a style, creating a firestorm of debate about colorism and identity that continues to rage in Jamaica. He made himself into a living, breathing controversy. And then there's the legal case. His trial was the longest in Jamaican history, a grim and sensational saga that ended with a life sentence. This is the ultimate controversy. His fans, the Gaza Nation, see him as a political prisoner, a ghetto hero who was too powerful and was taken down by the system. His critics see him as a criminal who glamorized a dangerous lifestyle and ultimately had to pay the price. He is a brilliant artist, a cultural icon, a convicted felon, and without a doubt, the most controversial reggae artist of all time. Kartel's story is almost unbelievable. But our next artist became a global symbol for one reason, then became controversial all over again for refusing to be that symbol any longer. 2. Matisyahu. Let's bring Matisyahu in for a closer look, because the controversy around him evolved in a way that no one saw coming. When he first appeared, the debate was simple. Could a Hasidic Jew from New York authentically perform reggae? He won many people over with his raw talent and his fiery performances. His album Live at Stubbs was a huge hit and showed that his connection to the music was deep and real. He had seemingly overcome the initial controversy. But then, in 2011, he posted a picture of himself on the internet. He was clean-shaven. He had cut off his signature beard and was no longer strictly adhering to the Hasidic faith he had been a part of. This sent a new shockwave through his fan base and the music world. The very image that had made him so unique and, yes, so controversial was gone. This created a whole new level of debate. Some of his religious fans felt betrayed, believing he had abandoned his faith. Some of his secular fans were confused. Was the religious aspect just a gimmick all along? He explained that his spiritual journey was evolving, but the move cost him a lot of his original audience. His story is a fascinating look at the intersection of faith, identity, and music. He was a man who became famous for being a symbol and then became controversial all over again for refusing to be one any longer. Matisyahu's spiritual journey was public and polarizing. But our next artist, a huge pop star, sparked controversy for a musical journey into reggae that many felt was just a passing phase. 3. Sinead O'Connor. Sinead O'Connor was an Irish singer known for her incredible, haunting voice and her fiercely independent and rebellious spirit. She was a pop star who was never afraid to speak her mind, famously tearing up a picture of the Pope on live television. She was a born rebel, so it's no surprise that she was drawn to the rebellious spirit of reggae and Rastafarianism. In 2005, she released an album called Throw Down Your Arms, which was a collection of covers of classic roots reggae songs. She traveled to Jamaica and recorded at the legendary Tuff Gong and Anchor Studios with some of the island's best musicians, like Sly and Robbie. The album was a genuine and heartfelt tribute to the music she loved, but it was also met with a great deal of controversy. Many reggae purists were highly critical of the project. They saw it as another example of a white Western artist co-opting the culture. Some were offended by the idea of an Irish woman singing these sacred Rastafarian anthems. The fact that she later became a priest in an independent Catholic church and then converted to Islam only added to the perception that her engagement with Rastafari was a passing phase. Despite the album's quality and her sincere intentions, for many it remains a controversial footnote in the history of reggae. Sinead's reggae tribute was seen as a passing phase, but our next artist's story ended in a tragic mystery that is still debated to this day. 4. Tenor saw. The mid-1980s saw a revolution in reggae music. The sound went digital, and a new rhythm called Slang Teng, created on a cheap Casio keyboard, changed everything. The first and most famous song on that rhythm was a track called Ring the Alarm by a young singer with a unique and powerful voice. His name was Tenor Saw, and he became an overnight sensation. Tenor Saw was the voice of the new digital dancehall era. His vocal style was one of a kind, a haunting, quavering tenor that sounded ancient and modern at the same time. Ring the Alarm became a dancehall anthem, one of the most important songs in the history of the genre. He seemed destined for greatness, but his story took a dark and mysterious turn. Just a few years after his breakthrough, at the age of only 21, Tenor Saw was found lifeless on the side of a road in Houston, Texas. The official story was that he was the victim of a hit-and-run accident, but rumors have swirled ever since. Many people in the reggae community believe there was foul play involved, that his passing was not an accident. The controversy surrounding his end is a sad and unresolved mystery. His incredible talent and his huge impact on the music were cut short, leaving behind a legacy that is both iconic and tragic. Tenor Saw's end is a tragic mystery. But our next artist's controversy came from his wild, unpredictable, and sometimes reckless behavior. 5. Elephant Man. Known as the Energy God, Elephant Man was one of the biggest and most colorful stars of the dancehall scene in the early 2000s. He was a true entertainer, known for his outrageous fashion, his unique vocal style, and his creation of dozens of popular dance moves that swept through Jamaica and the world. His music was all about having fun, and his high-energy performances were legendary. But beneath the fun-loving exterior was a constant stream of controversy. Like many of his peers, Elephant Man was at the center of the storm regarding hateful lyrics. He recorded several songs that were widely condemned, leading to canceled tours and public condemnation. His career in the international market was severely damaged by his refusal for a long time to renounce these lyrics. Beyond the lyrical content, his behavior often landed him in hot water. He had several run-ins with the law in Jamaica, facing accusations ranging from stealing electricity to making false declarations to immigration. He developed a reputation for being a wild card, an unpredictable and sometimes reckless figure. His story is a classic case of a talented artist whose immense creativity was often overshadowed by his own poor judgment and a refusal to adapt to a changing world. Elephant Man's poor judgment overshadowed his talent. But our next artist's controversy came from being the son of the biggest legend of all. 6. Ziggy Marley. Being the son of a legend is both a blessing and a curse. Just ask Ziggy Marley. As the eldest son of the immortal Bob Marley, Ziggy was destined to follow in his father's musical footsteps. He and his siblings formed the band The Melody Makers and went on to have a very successful career, winning multiple Grammy Awards and scoring hits like Tomorrow People. So where is the controversy? It lies in the immense shadow of his father. From the very beginning, Ziggy Marley has faced the accusation that he is nothing more than a pale imitation of his dad. His voice sounds remarkably similar, and his music often follows the same roots reggae formula. Critics have often labeled his music as Marley Light, a safe, uninspired, and commercialized version of the revolutionary sound his father created. This has put him in a no-win situation. If he sounds too much like his father, he's a copycat. If he tries to do something different, he's betraying his legacy. The thing is, Ziggy is a genuinely talented artist in his own right, with a long career of positive and well-crafted music. But he has never been able to fully escape the comparisons. He is a polarizing figure not because of anything he has said or done, but simply because of who his father island. Ziggy was controversial because of who his father was. But our next artist was seen as a merchant of menace, a man whose tough image was born from real-life tragedy. 7. Warlord. With his aggressive, militant style and his booming, commanding voice, he became one of the biggest stars of the 1990s. He was the voice of the ghetto, telling raw and unfiltered stories about the harsh realities of life in Kingston. But his hard-edged persona and his often violent lyrics made him one of the most controversial figures of his era. The thing is, Warlord's tough image was born from real-life tragedy. As a teenager, he was a victim of random violence, caught in the crossfire of a political conflict. This experience shaped his worldview and his music. His lyrics often glorified the life of a bad man, and he was accused of promoting violence and a gangster lifestyle. He had a long-running and very public feud with his rival, Beanie Man, that sometimes spilled over into real-world tension between their fans. Like many other dancehall artists of his time, he also faced intense criticism for lyrics that were condemned as hateful. This led to canceled shows and a constant cloud of controversy over his international career. Bounty Killer is a complex figure. To his fans, he is an authentic ghetto superhero, a truth-teller who represents the struggles of the poor. To his critics, he is a merchant of menace, an artist whose music has contributed to the very problems he describes. Bounty Killer was called a merchant of menace. But our next artist's confrontational style and sharp wit made him a feared opponent on the microphone. 8. I-Roy. In the world of Jamaican DJs, the original masters of the microphone, there were two kings who battled for the throne in the 1970s. One was the legendary U-Roy. The other was his brilliant and witty rival, I-Roy. While U-Roy was the king of the party, I-Roy was the intellectual, the DJ who was known for his clever wordplay, his sharp social commentary, and his often confrontational style. The controversy with I-Roy was born out of this rivalry. He and U-Roy engaged in one of music's earliest rap battles, releasing records that took shots at each other. This was a new and exciting thing at the time, but it was also seen by some as a negative turn in the music. The friendly competition of the sound systems was turning into personal attacks on wax. I-Roy was a master of the insult, and his sharp tongue made him a feared opponent on the microphone. But his confrontational style didn't stop with his musical rivals. His lyrics often took aim at the social and political issues of the day. He was a sharp critic of the system, and his intelligent, politically charged rhymes were a far cry from the simple party chants of other DJs. This made him a hero to the more conscious-minded listeners, but his intellectual style and his willingness to stir up trouble made him a less commercially successful and more polarizing figure than his peers. I-Roy's confrontational style stirred up trouble. But even his story pales in comparison to the controversy surrounding our next artist, a global icon who was a source of deep division at home. 9. Bob Marley. This is the one that might shock you. Bob Marley is not just a musician, he is a global icon, a symbol of peace, love, and rebellion. His music has inspired millions of people all over the world. So how could he possibly be on a list of controversial artists? The truth is, during his lifetime, and even after, Bob Marley was a deeply polarizing figure, especially in his home country of Jamaica. In the 1970s, Jamaica was torn apart by political violence. The two major political parties were essentially at war in the streets of Kingston. Bob Marley, whose fame and influence were growing, tried to remain neutral. He organized the One Love Peace concert to try and bring the two sides together, but his incredible power and influence made him a threat to both sides. In 1976, just days before the concert, gunmen stormed his home and shot him, his wife Rita, and his manager. What many overlooked is that even his message of one love was controversial. To the more militant Rastas and political activists, Like his former bandmate Peter Tosh, Marley's message was too soft. They felt he was becoming a commercial product, a friendly, non-threatening version of a Rasta that was safe for the international market. They accused him of selling out his revolutionary roots. His mixed-race heritage also made him a target for some who didn't see him as authentically black. He was a man who tried to unite the world, but was a source of deep division at home. Marley's message was seen as too soft. But our next artist was part of a band accused of making reggae so soft it became background music. 10. UB40. UB40 is a British band from Birmingham, England. They are one of the most commercially successful reggae acts in history, selling over 70 million records. Their smooth, pop-friendly versions of reggae songs, like Red Red Wine and Can't Help Falling in Love, were massive global hits. The band was also notable for its multiracial lineup, which was a powerful statement in the racially charged environment of 1970s Britain. So why are they so controversial? Because for many hardcore reggae fans, UB40 is the definition of inauthentic. Critics accuse them of creating a bland, watered-down version of reggae that has none of the fire or spiritual depth of the real Jamaican article. Their sound is incredibly polished and smooth, which is the opposite of the raw, bass-heavy sound that came out of the Kingston studios. The thing that really gets under the skin of purists is their success. The fact that this British pop band became one of the most famous reggae bands in the world felt like a great injustice to the many Jamaican artists who never got that kind of recognition. The band themselves have been torn apart by internal fighting, with different versions of the group touring under the same name. To their fans, they are pop legends. To their critics, they are the band that turned a revolutionary sound into easy-listening background music. UB40 was accused of diluting reggae, but our next artist was accused of reducing the genre to a simple party gimmick. 11. Shaggy. Orville Burrell, better known as Shaggy, is one of the most commercially successful Jamaican artists of all time. He is a global superstar with diamond-selling albums and a string of massive hits that are known all over the world. Songs like Boombastic, It Wasn't Me, and Angel made him a household name in the late 90s and early 2000s. He was charming, he was funny, and he was a pop music machine. And for many reggae purists, that was the problem. The controversy around Shaggy is all about his sound. His music is a fusion of dancehall, pop, and R&B. It's incredibly catchy, lighthearted, and made for the radio. But for fans of traditional roots reggae and hardcore dancehall, Shaggy's music is the ultimate sellout. They accuse him of watering down the sound of Jamaican music, stripping it of its grit, its soul, and its cultural significance to make it more palatable for a mainstream international audience. He's often called a novelty act, a pop star who uses a reggae flavor to sell records. Many feel his comical, lighthearted songs reduce the rich and complex culture of Jamaica to a simple party gimmick. While no one can deny his incredible success and his role in keeping Jamaican music in the global spotlight, the debate continues. Is Shaggy a brilliant ambassador for his country's music, or is he the man who turned the powerful sound of the streets into a pop cartoon? Shaggy was called a pop cartoon, but our next artist's music was seen as something far more dangerous, with a message of intolerance that divided fans. 12. Sizzla.
Yes, I love you!
When it comes to controversy in dancehall, few names burn as brightly as Sizzla Kalonji, or just Sizzla. He emerged in the mid-90s as a leading voice in the conscious dancehall movement, a return to Rastafarian themes and cultural pride. He has an incredible voice, capable of both gentle, melodic singing and fiery, rapid-fire chanting. He is also one of the most prolific artists in history, with over 50 albums to his name. But Sizzla's massive musical output is matched only by the massive controversy he has generated. Like Buju Banton, many of his songs contain lyrics that have been widely condemned for being hateful and promoting violence. This has made him a lightning rod for criticism and has led to numerous canceled tours and protests, particularly in Europe and North America. He has been denied visas to several countries because of the content of his music. What makes Sizzla so polarizing is the contradiction at the heart of his work. On one hand, he is a devout Bobo Ashanti Rasta who sings beautiful songs of praise, love, and upliftment. On the other hand, he releases tracks filled with rage and condemnation. His supporters see him as an uncompromising truth-teller, a spiritual warrior who is unafraid to speak his mind. His detractors see him as a dangerous figure who uses his platform to spread a message of intolerance. Sizzla's message was seen as intolerant. But our next artist's entire career has been defined by one massive, inescapable lyrical controversy. 13. Buju Banton. Buju Banton is one of the most talented and important artists in the history of modern reggae and dancehall. With his gravelly voice, incredible flow, and deeply conscious lyrics, he became a superstar in the 1990s. He released classic albums and was seen as the artist who could bridge the gap between raw dancehall and spiritual roots reggae. But his career has been defined by one massive, inescapable controversy. Early in his career, he released a song that contained lyrics that were virulently anti-gay. The song was a huge hit in Jamaica, but when Buju's fame went international, the track caused an uproar. Human rights organizations launched a massive campaign against him, leading to canceled concerts, protests outside his shows, and a public relations nightmare that lasted for years. He became the face of dancehall's hateful side. For years, Buju refused to back down, creating a deep divide. On one side were his die-hard fans who saw him as a victim of political correctness. On the other side were those who saw him as a promoter of dangerous and hateful ideas. The thing nobody tells you is that this lyrical controversy was only part of his story. He later found himself in serious legal trouble in the United States, which put his career on hold for a decade. After his release, he publicly renounced his old hateful lyrics. But for many, the damage was already done. Buju's lyrics made him the face of hate. But our next artist was seen as the face of something else entirely, a move away from consciousness and towards pure foolishness. 14. Yellow Man. In the early 1980s, a new sound and a new kind of star took over Jamaica. The era of sweet spiritual roots, reggae, was fading, and the raw, boastful energy of dancehall was rising. The undisputed king of this new era was an artist known as King Yellow Man. He was an unlikely star. As an albino, he was an outcast in Jamaican society, but on the microphone, he was a giant. His witty, funny, and often very raunchy lyrics made him a sensation. The controversy surrounding Yellow Man was about the content of his music. The style of dancehall he pioneered was called slackness, and it was all about explicit, humorous, and sometimes downright vulgar storytelling. This was a massive departure from the conscious, political, and spiritual themes of roots reggae that had defined the 1970s. The old guard of reggae fans was horrified. They saw Yellow Man's music as a step backward, a move away from the positive message of the genre. They accused him of corrupting the youth and promoting a culture of foolishness. But for a new generation of Jamaicans, Yellow Man was a breath of fresh air. His music was fun, it was relatable, and it was about the real lives of people in the dance hall. He was a polarizing figure who represented a major turning point in Jamaican music. He was either a cultural hero who gave a voice to the streets, or a court jester who stripped the music of its soul. Yellow Man was called a court jester. But our next artist was seen as a mad genius, whose creative process was as brilliant as it was destructive. 15. Lee Scratch Perry. There has never been and will never be another artist like Lee Scratch Perry. He wasn't just a musician, he was a shaman, a mad scientist, and a true visionary who completely changed the way music was made. He was one of the inventors of dub music, taking recordings and turning them inside out with strange sound effects, echoes, and otherworldly noises. He produced some of Bob Marley's best work and built his legendary Black Ark studio, a place where musical magic happened. But Perry's genius was always walking hand in hand with his eccentric behavior. His interviews were rambling, surreal poems. He would perform bizarre rituals, dance with wild energy, and cover his clothes and his studio with strange symbols and writings. Many people thought he was just plain crazy. The controversy around him was simple. Was he a brilliant artist pushing the boundaries of creativity, or was he a man who had lost his mind? The debate reached its peak in the late 1970s. After years of intense work and pressure, Perry's behavior became more and more erratic. Then, his beloved Black Ark studio burned to the ground. The thing is, Perry himself claimed that he was the one who burned it down. He said it was an act of purification, a way to cleanse the studio of the evil spirits and negative energy that had taken it over. This act cemented his legend as reggae's mad genius, an artist whose creative process was so intense it was ultimately destructive. Lee Perry's creativity was controversial, but our next artist sparked a debate with a bold spiritual choice that shocked his community. 16. Prince Buster, before Bob Marley. Before reggae even had a name, there was Prince Buster. He was one of the founding fathers of Jamaican music, a true pioneer of the ska and rocksteady sounds that came before reggae. He was a singer, a producer, and a sound system operator who shaped the entire musical landscape of the island. His songs were the soundtrack to Jamaican independence in the 1960s. He was, to put it simply, a cultural hero. But then, in 1964, Prince Buster did something that shocked his fans and the deeply Christian society of Jamaica. He converted to Islam and joined the Nation of Islam. This was a radical move at the time. He began to incorporate his new faith into his music, with songs that referenced Muhammad Ali and the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. This created a major rift in his audience. The thing is, the early Jamaican music scene was deeply intertwined with both Christian and, later, Rastafarian beliefs. For a star as big as Prince Buster to publicly embrace a different faith was a huge deal. It was a bold statement that challenged the cultural norms of the time. Some saw him as a trailblazer, a man of conviction who was willing to stand up for his beliefs. Others saw it as a betrayal of his roots. His decision made him a deeply polarizing figure, a musical legend whose spiritual journey became as much a part of his story as his groundbreaking music. Prince Buster's spiritual choice was radical, but our next artist's entire identity was so radical and unexpected it sent shockwaves through the genre. 17. Matasiahu. Imagine this. It's the mid-2000s, and the reggae world is buzzing about a new artist. He has a powerful voice, authentic-sounding rhythms, and a deep spiritual message. But when he steps on stage, the audience is stunned. The artist, known as Matasiahu, is a white, American Hasidic Jewish man, complete with the traditional beard, black hat, and coat. The sight was so unexpected, so different, that it sent shockwaves through the genre. The controversy around Matasiahu was all about authenticity. For many, reggae is more than just music. It's the expression of Black, Jamaican, and Rastafarian culture. So, to see a white Jewish artist performing this music felt, to some, like a deep form of cultural appropriation. He was accused of borrowing the style without understanding the struggle that created it. Debates raged on internet forums and in music magazines. Was he a genuine artist paying homage, or was he a gimmick? Truth be told, Matasiahu was a deeply talented and sincere performer. His music blended traditional reggae and dancehall with Hebrew prayers and rock influences. His live shows were legendary for their energy and passion. Over time, he won over many of his critics. Then, in a shocking twist, he shaved his beard and left the Hasidic sect he was a part of, completely changing his image once again. This new change created a whole new wave of controversy, proving that Matasiahu was an artist who would always walk his own, very debatable path. Matasiahu's identity was always a source of debate, but our next artist's words sparked a global firestorm that effectively derailed his massive career. 18. Shabba Ranks. In the early 1990s, one voice ruled the dance halls of Jamaica and the world. That voice belonged to Shabba Ranks. He was the emperor of dancehall, a larger-than-life figure with a deep, booming voice and a stage presence that was pure energy. He won 2 Grammy Awards and brought dancehall music to a massive global audience with hits like Mr. Loverman. But his rapid rise to fame was met with an equally rapid and dramatic fall from grace. The controversy that engulfed Shabba ranks was a cultural earthquake at the time. During an interview on a British TV show, he made comments expressing views that were widely condemned as hateful and dangerous. The backlash was immediate and intense. Protests were organized, his music was pulled from radio stations, and he was publicly denounced by human rights groups. The firestorm followed him to America, where he was challenged on his views on live television. What many overlooked is that Shabba was not just an artist. He was a product of a very specific time and place in Jamaican culture where certain views were common. But when he brought those views to the international stage, he crashed head-on into a different set of values. The incident effectively ended his reign at the top of the charts and made him a poster child for the culture clash between dancehall and the wider world. His story became a cautionary tale about the responsibilities that come with global stardom. Shabba's controversy came from a culture clash. But our final artist's controversy came from clashing directly with the government. 19. Peter Tosh. What does it take for a musical genius to become an enemy of the state? For Peter Tosh, it was his refusal to compromise. He was one of the original Wailers, standing shoulder to shoulder with Bob Marley. But while Marley sang of one love, Tosh's music was a fist in the air. He was reggae's ultimate rebel, and his message was raw, unfiltered, and deeply confrontational. You see, Tosh didn't just sing about problems, he called out the people in charge by name. His concerts weren't just musical events, they were political rallies. The thing that really set him apart was his defiant spirit. He famously lit up a spliff on stage at the One Love Peace concert in 1978, right in front of the Prime Minister, and gave a long speech criticizing the system. To put it mildly, the authorities were not amused. His outspoken nature made him a target. He was harassed by the police and suffered brutal beatings for his beliefs and his open promotion of ganja. Tosh's music, filled with tracks like Legalize It and Equal Rights, became the soundtrack for a generation of people who felt oppressed and ignored. He was a hero to many, but to the establishment, he was a dangerous man. His controversy wasn't just about the music, it was about his life. He lived his message so fearlessly that it put him in direct opposition to the powers that be.